Good morning, everybody. Well, actually, yes, good morning. My name's Tony Hall from Navigator Consulting. I've met a lot of you, many of you on the way in. Navigator Consulting is around business growth and improvement for recruitment companies. And as part of what we also do is every month we put on Captain's Table. And we also have Consultants Table, as you can see there, for senior consultants as well, that we do occasionally as well. But mostly we're about producing events for you every month that are on cutting edge topics that are really important for the current market. And we couldn't be doing this without our supporters. First of all, JobAdder very generously supply their meeting room for us here, so thank you very much. And we've got William Buck in Melbourne and Brisbane, who are an accounting firm that you probably well know, who support us really well. Also DigitPro, also People 2.0 and A Positive. I really encourage you to get to know these guys because they know everybody in the market. They're always around recruitment companies and they'll have a lot of really important market intelligence for you that they can share and help you. So today we're talking about next level business development. The market's really changing, as you know. Every company that I work with, every recruitment company I'm talking to is talking about how things are tightening up a bit now and that we have to start using more business development techniques to build relationships and to operate very differently to when we're in a very talent short market that we've had for many years previously. So I would like to introduce to you our guest speaker, Adele, who also runs Captain's Table Melbourne for us as well. Adele is a very experienced recruiter, a recruitment manager, and also a trainer. So she's probably the most current of the trainers / speakers in the marketplace right now. Really knows her stuff. She presents really well. You're going to really enjoy hearing her today. Adele, thank you very much. Over to you.
Thanks, Tony. Hello, everybody. So my name is Adele. I run a business called Lasso, and I essentially work more at the rookie end of the market. For those of you that may know me or haven't heard about me, I find people and I train them and I put them into our industry. So I'm working very much, as I said, at that rookie end of the market, but I also work with Tony on some mid and senior level training. So the presentation today is about business development and trying to address it. I'm so not used to holding a microphone. This feels so weird. I've tried to make a presentation for you that will challenge you in some ways around business development. I've tried to put in some innovative ideas in there. So there might be some where you say, we can't do that, and that's good. I want you to have a think about that. I also normally pitch this for Captain's Table. The event that Tony referenced is usually for business owners and senior leaders in the industry. So we're pitching normally ideas that they often take back to their teams. So some of it you'll hear me talk about this at a leadership level, but I've also added a few extra slides just late last night when I rechecked the list that there are a lot of recruiters in the room as well. So I'm going to give you some hands-on elements here as well. But I'm also going to make sure that I'm going to leave you wanting a little bit more. So I'm not giving you all of the detail. I'm going to give you some snippets. And then if you're wanting more information, feel free to reach out to me. I'll have contact info at the end. Okay, so I've got to do this and this. So just bear with me. And I think I do it that way. Is that going to change? No? That way. There we go. All right. So covering off today's agenda. Oh, and we are being recorded. You heard that at the start. We're being recorded for two purposes. Some people who couldn't join us in person have purchased access to the event and they'll get the recording, as I believe all of you will get access to it as well. So you'll get a copy of this. We're running the event in Melbourne tomorrow. Same exact presentation in Melbourne. So if you've got colleagues in Melbourne that you think would like to attend or will benefit, please reach out to Tony or myself before you leave or online. And then Brisbane will be a couple of weeks. So again, if you've got colleagues there as well. Okay, so today's agenda, as promised in the invitation, is around launching a business development program or looking at a way to refresh your business development, looking at strategies that are proven to work. I'm actually going to address some of the ones that I think do work now, the things that we're doing now that I think are worth keeping. And I'm going to then bring in some new ideas as well. Practicing best practice around reverse marketing. I want to talk about reverse marketing, and I run a whole separate training session on reverse marketing in great detail, but I'm going to pick up some of the tips and tricks on that in here. Re-engineering or reskilling. So re-engineering if you're a team leader or owner in the room, reskilling if you're a recruiter. And I'm going to talk about mapping your market as well. I'm trying to find the right spot to put this mic so that I'm not going to, so it's recording but not distorting my voice. All right, I just want to address the state of the current market that we're sitting in at the moment. And when I say the current market, I literally mean like this week. Okay, I am a current, as Tony said, I'm really current about making sure when I'm delivering training and I'm giving information that it's really up to date. This is not a presentation I wrote 10 years ago and I'm just rehashing it. This is new information and you'll get that every time you work with me. And I'm recruiting myself every day as well. So as I said, I'm doing a program where I'm finding rookies and bringing them in. So I'm actively recruiting. I'm in the pain that you're in as well. I have to do my own BD. I have to find candidates as well. So I think that's important to know where I'm coming from when I'm delivering this to you. Some of it's tried and tested. Some of it, as I said, is a bit new. But the current market, as I said, this week, if I deliver this next week, I'll have to update the slide. It's highly reactive. We know this, right? We're not getting a chance to be as proactive, or we haven't been as proactive as we probably should be, which is what we're feeling now, that pinch of the slowdown in business coming through, because we had this onslaught, right, through COVID. We had clients coming and knocking on our door, you know, in the hundreds saying we need your help. So we have been coming off the back of that reactive sort of environment. So highly reactive at the moment. Applications per job advert are up. And this is a really interesting stat for any of you. And here's my other little plug I'll give you. I run a weekly podcast. It's called Recruitment News Australia. It comes out on a Tuesday morning. It's free. Subscribe to it on LinkedIn or on its website. And we give you the news of what's going on in the industry and a little bit of training. It goes for 20 minutes. It's short, sharp. This week, we spoke about this applications being up per job advertisement. So the number of job advertisements are down, but the number of people applying are up. You're feeling that anyway, right? You can see that and you're feeling that at your desks anyway. So what this is doing in our current market, technically it's actually making more work for us. Think about that, right? We place an ad now and now we're getting more applications we've got to sort through. So we've got, you know, a reactive environment, more work to do in terms of processing applications. Candidate loyalty, I'm saying, and their effort and their commitment, zero, isn't it? That's the worst part post-COVID, I think. There's so many good things that actually came out, I think, post-COVID and things that changed, but that one's got to be the worst. Candidate loyalty, their integrity, their honesty, even their ability to just get up out of their bloody chair and come in and see you nowadays, right? It's hard work. So that's something we're struggling with, right? And for those of you that actually give me a little show of hands, did anyone join the recruitment industry in the last 2 to 3 years? Has anyone like in COVID, post-COVID? Well, it's about half. All right, good. I got lots of stuff for you guys. Because I'm nurturing that group through, you know, I started my business actually at the end of 2019. So every person I've placed in recruitment has come through in this period you guys are in. So I know what you're going through, but I also know what you're about to face. So I want to give you some of that warning. But yeah, before COVID, guys, candidates were loyal. You would have a relationship with a candidate and you could trust that they weren't going to do anything dodgy on you. You could, I mean, for the most part, I know there were odd ones here and there. They came in and met us face to face. I say this to rookies and they don't believe me. We never, ever interviewed on video pre-COVID. Never, ever. Like it was exceptional circumstances where the person might have been overseas or some very, very rare occurrence would we revert to a video interview. So when I say that to newbies, they sort of go, what do you mean? Why would nobody have, thought to do video before? We just didn't. It was in person. This was an in-person job. And so I'll talk more about that as well. Clients are slow to respond. Are we feeling that? Yeah. Geez, that was what COVID was nice for. They were in a God almighty hurry to get the recruitment done, weren't they? And they responded fast and they made decisions fast and they moved. And now we are in go slow mode and it's painful. It's really painful. So I'm going to talk to you about how to try and balance some of that. They're reverting to pre-COVID conditions. Yeah. How many times are you fighting with clients at the moment about working from home and, other conditions that candidates are starting to become that are wanting as a standard. So they're reverting to, this is how it was, we're all in office, or this is how it was, we're going back to this kind of style of management, or whatever it might be. So we're dealing with that as well. We're dealing with clients that are reverting back, and you're either trying to withstand that, or you're trying to work with that now in the new landscape. And just economically, we know, interest rates and other things, of course, in the economy are causing those pressures on the sentiment around people wanting to move, for one, and clients making decisions, or even hiring at all. We're having a lot of drop-offs of jobs at the moment. Like they've listed the job with you and then it goes nowhere, or they change their mind halfway through. These are all symptomatic of these kinds of conditions. So I'm going back to the computer to press it. I'm a bad habit. Hang on. All right. So what's our industry response been around the conditions? What have we been doing? During COVID, we were selective with our clients. We were able to be more selective. We were able to say, I'm too busy for that job, or, it's going to be one of many that I'm recruiting. We prioritized differently through COVID because we had the luxury of lots of volume of work. But as the market slowed again, and I'm talking just, I want to say it's in the last 3 months, really. Might be even smaller for some of you. Might be in the last few weeks, things are really starting to slow. We all reverted to what I'm saying, type, or our comfort zone. We've all gone straight back to going, okay, there's not as many jobs, so now I'll take that job from that shitty client that, never returns my call, right? We're doing it. We're all doing that, right? Even though we know we're not supposed to do it, but we're starting to, the desperation starts to set in, and we start seeing the end of financial year budget looming, right? That was a scary one, wasn't it? The last week of June, terrifying, right? We're not going to make budget. What are we going to do, right? So we were starting to revert to type and just starting to get a little bit more desperate. But the strategy is to kind of pick from both, right? I get why we get desperate and we take clients that we might not have before, we shouldn't. And I get this idea around prioritizing, but you have to find a strategy that sits in between. All right. I want you to find the balance between those two, because either way is not good. Well, we don't have the luxury of multiple clients to reject at the moment. So further to our response to market challenges, this is some of my advice around, and you'll see my slides are bullet points or statements to remind me what to talk to you about. So if you look at the slides and you're going, there's not a lot of information on our slides, that's on purpose because you have to be here or listen. So I'm just trying to put that there as a reminder to remind me what to talk to you about. I will also allow some time for questions at the end. I should have said that at the start. So if you've got a really burning question, please put your hand up. I hate it when you forget it later on, but I'll leave some time at the end. So our response to this kind of market, this is my advice around this, and it's coming from 3 cycles like this in my career. Okay, so this is, I've been in the industry 27 years this year, and I've been through 3 cycles like what we're doing now, like what we're in the midst of now, for different reasons. GFCs, and some of you are nodding and smiling at me. You were along there with me as well. We felt that pain, so we've had recessions and GFCs, and we've had other economic conditions. So we've never had a health crisis like COVID, but we've had other conditions that emulated what we're feeling now. Okay, we came back out of it. So I'm taking this from 3 goes at trying to recover 3 different times, but I'm also looking at, again, as I said, the way it's very different now. Even with those 3 examples that I had in my own career, we didn't have some of what we've got now. Post GFC, people didn't need to work from home, right? There was elements now that are very unique. So I want you to think about some of these. As I said, some of you might not like them. They're going to be suggestions that may or may not work. Narrow and deep, I'm saying. When times are like this, you want to narrow your focus wherever possible. If you were starting a recruitment business today, and I get inquiries from new business owners pretty much every week asking me for some advice around what they should do, and I say to them, start with 2 job types, 2 job titles. Like, go really narrow around what's the kind of recruitment you're going to do. Start with 2 and work on that almost exclusively, and just on the peripheral of that. I think sometimes we work across too wide a gap. It makes it hard to navigate when it's tougher. So narrow and deep, I'm saying, Specialized is a really hard one. I've worked for the majority of my 27 years, I've worked for generalist recruitment agencies. What I mean by that is ones where we recruited everything from accountants to truck drivers in the one company, maybe not the one recruiter, but in the one organization. So at my core, I'm a generalist recruiter. You give me a brief and I'll recruit it for you. Doesn't matter what the job is. That's my recruitment training. But in this market, and for what I've learned in more recent times, I do actually think specialization is better. And a lot of recruitment commentators will say the same. Yeah. Start to narrow yourself down to be a specialization. Now, those of you that are in a generalist firm, don't panic. Don't panic, because what often the case is your client doesn't know that you're not a specialist. In whatever space you're actually in, the client thinks that's your specialization. And you can very much market yourself that way. All right. So it might be just about the smoke and mirrors of how it looks onto the outside. But if you can narrow your focus and specialize, I want you to really consider doing that and do it now. Start getting rid of the peripheral. It's nice to have those little jobs on the side. Oh yeah, I can just do it. They give it to me. I'll just recruit it. Right. Add a little bit of, but it's distracting you from your core focus. All right. So I want you to think about specialized and targeted in your approach. Around BD. I'm going to get to some actual techniques. I'm just starting broader, guys. Sustainable and unique. What I mean by that is your approach to your business development needs to be something that you can do on repeat. The secret to good business development, this is it. I will tell you now, and it's like 20 past the hour, but you have to stay until the end, right? This is the secret. It's about consistency. That's all. You actually don't have to be a great salesperson. You don't have to have all of the contacts in the world. You don't have to have the best script. Whatever you're doing, you just have to do it consistently, over and over and over again on a regular basis. That's going to produce the result. You'll get better at it the more you're doing it. So that's going to help. But the consistency of effort is what produces the result. So what I mean by sustainable is whatever it is you're going to do, choose something that you know you can keep doing. Right? Now, sometimes you have to try something. You have to try a few different methods of business development to see which one is going to suit you. But if networking is not your natural, so who is, I'm going to pick on you, but I'm not going to get you to get up. Lorraine, I met Lorraine just before, and I thanked her for sitting in the front row, and she gave me the don't talk to me. Like, don't. I'm sitting in the front row, but don't talk to me. But I thanked her for sitting in the front row as a speaker. It's terrible when no one sits in the front row. You feel like you're really unpopular. But what I was going to say was, if networking is not your thing, if you come to a room like this and you're terrified and you don't want to speak to people, then don't do that part of it. That's not going to be the best way of doing business development for you. So find what it is that works for you so that you can sustainably keep it going, because the consistency is more important. I went too far away from my thing. I have to bring it with me. And unique as well. Like, so much of what we do, guys, is the same. Right? It's really, in the rookie program that I do, it's really mean. I get them to go offline after the first day and find out what their USP is. I say to each of them, go to talk to your manager and come back tomorrow and tell me what your USP, your unique selling point is. Right? And they get all excited. They go, oh, that's cool. I'm going to go do that. And they go and speak to their manager and they all come back and it's all the same. They say exactly the same thing. And you can see their faces going, oh, she's just said exactly what my answer was going to be. Okay. We're not unique. We're not unique. I hate to say that, right? We are spurting the same information to the client almost in the same way. We're saying the same thing. All right. So find out what is really unique. So then I push them in the rookie program. I say, okay, so you just heard each other speak and it's not unique. What really is unique? What can we do that's really different? What do you do that's really different? But more importantly, how is that of benefit to the client? I just realized maybe standing over here, I'm not in the recording, am I? There's so many things to think about, Tony. And I want you to think about dealing with your clients, talking to your clients around data and statistics. All right. What information do you have that's valuable to your client? You don't even know you've got it. You've got tons of valuable information, can I tell you? But if you ask your clients, what could I do to help you do your job? What could I give you? What information have I got that could help you? You'll be really surprised what they ask you about, and they see value in things like, you know, what's happening in the market from a salary perspective, what kind of degrees are candidates doing, how long are they, you know, working in industry before they're looking for, you know, like there's all sorts of different questions that you're asking your candidates. You're extracting this information, which is valuable for you, but it's valuable to your client. All right. So I want you to think about the data and stats that you have access to. Some of you are producing documentation like this that you give to clients. I know that's really good. You're one step further. But even if you're a small agency, you're still collecting this information. If you haven't got a nice glossy brochure, you're still collecting really good data, and your clients want it, and they'll value you more for that. It's a value add. It costs you nothing. You've got that information. Okay. All right, I'm going to cover these techniques, some actual techniques, all right? This is the stuff I sort of updated late last night because I was like, I want you to be able to leave with something that you went, yeah, I'm going to try that one, or I hadn't thought of that, or I've been thinking about doing it. But I'm going to go into detail on each of these. So this is just the title page to show you, and then I'm going to talk about each of these approaches. As I said, some may or may not work. I want to talk about customer centricity, customer-centric type business development, because I don't think we do this very well in this industry. I think we are all about what we do. We go out to a client and we're so fixated on telling them what we do and how we can help. We're solutions focused. It comes from a good place. We want to help people. But we forget about putting ourselves in the customer's shoes, right? And there are some industries that do this really well. So I encourage you to have a look at some of those industries. There are some IT organizations that do it really well. Retail does it really well. Some of the big retail organizations do this really well, right? They go out and they stand in their customer's shoes and they look back at themselves and they say, what does that look like? What would I want from that organization? What could they give me? We don't do that enough, in my opinion. So I think having this customer centricity around, do you know what your customers love about you? We don't ask that. I reckon we're scared of the answer. I really do. That's why I think we don't ask that question. We're scared there isn't an answer. I don't love you. I put up with you because I'm desperate, right? That's what we're worried they're going to say to us. But that's not true. We know that I mean, who's got clients that they've been working with for months and years? Yeah? How long? 10 years? They love you. They love you, right? They do, I promise you. There's no way somebody's working with you for that long to put up with you, right? We just don't do that. So ask the question, right? That could be, that one takeaway could be the make or break. Go out there today and ring all of your clients that you've been dealing with and ask them, why do you love me? Maybe not love. Insert more appropriate word. But you know what I'm trying to say. Why do your customers love you? And then how do I replicate that? Am I doing something with Ben that I should be replicating over here with Rich? Right? I'm not doing the same thing. So what should, different recruitment or whatever, but what could I replicate? How do I improve it? We're really bad at process improvement, innovation, continuous improvement in recruitment. We're really bad at it. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Well, that's what we think, right? I want to challenge you on that. How do we keep innovating? We've got to keep moving forward on this, okay? And what is your ideal client profile? Has anyone done that exercise? Anyone created a profile of what your ideal client looks like? You've done that exercise? And tell me, if I can ask you, Andrew, tell me some of the things what are the headings that you're trying to address when you're looking at the ideal client? What are the things you're looking for? Yes? Hunting zebras. Right. Okay. Yep. Excellent. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to repeat it because it doesn't pick it up in the microphone and for anyone who didn't hear. So it was a metaphor around hunting zebras. The pack of lions is going to go through the same amount of effort whether they're going to hunt, a smaller animal, a rabbit or something else. So don't go after the rabbit, go after a zebra because you're going to get maximum meat for your effort, you know, if you're a lion, if you're a group of lions. So the ideal client for what Andrew's saying in his business is one where there's maximum yield, right? I'm going to go for something where there's perhaps multiple divisions or opportunities to do consulting and recruitment or whatever it might be in their business. So that's what I'm saying by that. What is your ideal client? Create, like literally sit down and brainstorm a profile. What kind of industries, what kind of size organizations, how do we want the relationship to work, all of that sort of stuff. I've got a session that I do separately on that alone, but think about just sitting down to do that for yourself and then start trying to match up clients to that profile. If they don't measure up, then they're not good enough. It's not a zebra, right? Not big enough for us. So that's a really good way to just move the dial in looking at your customer, being more analytical about the type of customer that we're dealing with. The next idea I want to talk about is back. I think it's back. Yeah, maybe I bumped it. Business or I'm a free range trainer. That's what I'm saying. This is like batteries. Got me now? Oh, good. Okay, that one's a bit more sensitive too. So business or industry analysis, I'm calling this. I didn't know really how to title it, but I'll explain it. It'll make sense. Again, what do you know about your industry and how can you share this with your clients? So again, I'm looking for that deep information that you hold about your industry, about what's going on in recruitment. And I say this to rookies as well. We have more information and data about people in an industry than anybody else. Even when they're new, I say that to them. 3 to 6 months in, a rookie has done more interviews in a lot of cases than their clients will do across their whole career. Think about that, right? So they've already got more interview experience than their client in a short period of time. I tell that to them so that they don't feel like they're, imposters or they're not good enough, right? Say to rookies, you are going to be good enough. You're going to be good enough really quickly. So what information though do you know about your industry and how can you share that with the client? So I'm suggesting this idea around what I'm calling a health check on the recruitment process or results. Think about the valuable information you've got around how long jobs take to be filled in the industry. As I said, what kind of salaries people are looking for, what kind of conditions, how many people are working from home in your industry or in their industry, right? When I'm saying it's what you're giving them about their industry. Okay, so you can do a little bit of a health check on their business. Go in and say, would you like me to assess and compare you to the data from the industry? I'll give you this data report, but let's do a little assessment of your own, a little diagnosis of your own business and see if you match up. The industry is taking on average, 31 days and you're taking, 49 to place jobs. Here's an issue I think we can work with together, right? So things like that where you start to pinpoint for them specifically. Again, this is where we get targeted in the BD approach. It's not just the same for everybody. An idea of a kind of a health check or an industry report, an industry analysis that you could produce for a client, right? I think this one's really powerful. And it doesn't necessarily require you to have, excellent sales skills, really. You're going to sell on the data. So for those of you that sit there and are saying, I'm not really good at BD, if that's why you're here, because you go, I'm not a really good salesperson, this could work really well for you because you're selling on stats and data. You don't have to have the gift of the gab, okay? How are you sharing information across your business? So this is the other thing too. When I say you've got valuable information, you individually have valuable information, but so does the person sitting next to you. So how are you going to tap into the whole collective of information? Even if you're a 2-person operation, you're still seeing different parts of the world. So how do you collect that information together and put it together? So how are you going to share the information within your organization? Another idea I want to raise with you as a BD technique is collaboration workshops. Now, some people are running workshops or events or presentations in their own industry to their own clients. Does anyone do that where you put on like a breakfast? Is anyone doing that sort of thing? Put on a breakfast to your clients or to prospective clients in your industry, get a guest speaker, something like that. That's good. Nothing wrong with doing that. I think that's a really good method. I've done that myself before, works really well. Again, consistency is the key. If you just do it once, it's a wasted exercise because people come and they feel good, and then you've got to make the feel good feeling have longevity. So you've got to do them regularly. But this is a little different. I want to take it a little further and say, what do you know that others want? Again, this idea around the information that we have, we don't value it. We keep thinking we've got to get a guest speaker in, but we've got some really valuable information that we could give to the client, right? One of the most, I'll give you the example in a minute, then I'll tell you why it was powerful. Who are your clients' clients? Do we know that? We might know some brand names here and there where they say, oh, yeah, they're going to be on the, IBM account or something, right? But do we really ask that question? Do we ask our clients who their clients are? I want you to go back and do that just with your top few clients, right? Start to understand who their clients are, and then what can you offer? So I did this as an exercise. This is an example I'm just going to give you in the middle of COVID, when I couldn't do a lot of in-person training and I was having to do a lot of online stuff. And I went to my clients and I said, what do your clients want from you? And they were saying, well, online interviewing now's the thing. Everyone has to do it. They weren't very good at interviews before, and now online's even worse. And so I offered my clients a webinar on interview training for the online market to their clients, right? Think about that. So they were delivering it, hosting it. I was a guest speaker essentially at their event, right? But the relationship that I built with my client is really strong, right? None of my competitors were doing that. I was helping my client being seen as the expert. So what are your clients? Who are your clients' clients, and what can you offer them? Something simple like, interview training is actually really, really valuable. We underestimate that hugely. I want you to innovate with technology in relation to workshops and online events as well. Okay. Again, I don't think we're really great at using some of the technology that's available in our industry. We love it. Recruiters are some of the best early adopters of technology, but we don't innovate with it. We don't push it out ourselves. We let other people come to us with it. But what could we do with our clients that helps to innovate the process, speed up the process, put in some cool tech in a process that's just, again, going to be different to your competitor. Don't do it for the sake of it. Do it because it makes the process better or more interesting. But how can you innovate with the tech, right, with the client through the process? Even in a workshop capacity, I don't know if any of you did, in the middle of COVID, LinkedIn did an online conference. Did anyone attend that? It was you went a physical. You had a little person on the screen, and you were like walking around like a little thing on the screen and you went up to the booth and you could interact like you would in person. You go to an exhibition and you go up to a booth and speak to someone, but you could do it as a little robot thing on the screen. It was so weird. I don't know that I liked it, but it was cool. It was cool to see it. I got to meet a lot of people that day that I couldn't because we were all stuck in our houses with COVID outside. So think about those things. What could we do? Give things a try. We've got to be more brave about trying out some new things. It may or may not work, but you'll be remembered for being leading and pulling it out in front of the client. Provide speakers to their events. So if you don't like my idea of me saying you're a great guest speaker, you've got information, then pay for someone else to be the guest speaker to your client's event. All right? Think about that. Who do they really want to get, and how could you help facilitate that? So that's a way to also use this kind of tool of networking, of collaboration in a workshop environment in a different way if you don't have the expertise to do a presentation yourself. I want to talk about thought leadership as a business development technique, tool, resource. It's a long-term approach though, okay? So if you're going to position yourself as a thought leader in your industry, it's a long-range view, all right? It's not going to happen overnight, something you have to do repeatedly again over a long period of time. But start now. Start now. Don't think about it. Start putting in place things that start to position you as the thought leader. Cast wide and think creatively. What I mean by that is, again, don't be so narrow focused in thinking we're just recruitment, all right? Start spreading your net out a little further as to what kind of expertise you have, who might be interested in it, where it might go, okay? And think creatively about who you might collaborate with. I mentioned the podcast that I'm doing each week. It's with another trainer who's my direct competitor. He and I directly compete. He doesn't run a program like mine, but he does a rookie training program. He does intermediate and leadership training. Ross Clennon is his name. Bless you. And I went and approached him and I said, maybe we're better together. We're still going to compete. We're still billing clients directly, but we can collaborate on this one thing. And to the industry, it's a really interesting message. People are really surprised that we even talk to each other. And we're having a ball doing this podcast, right? So think creatively. Think about who you think as a competitor may not be, right? Or who else in the industry could you work with? What other value adds can you add on there? You're going to need a multi-prong approach to thought leadership because it takes, as I said, a long time, and it takes multi-pronged, different facets of it coming in from different areas. So things like your online presence, creating videos, articles, white papers, whatever it might be. So it's going to need to be multi-pronged. If this is the approach for you, if you like this idea, I encourage you to engage a marketing expert to help you lay this out. Even if they're not doing the grunt work, if you take it on and you do all the work yourself, but you're going to need a plan for this, or hire a marketing person to do this for you so that it's happening in the background for you as well. Consistent, it's got to be continual, volume, all of those things, okay? I've just put some of the examples there, videos online, speaking, publishing things as well. So what can you do to put yourself as an expert in your space? Micro influencers. I mentioned this, I reckon, a year ago in COVID. No one's ever picked it up. Maybe it's a really stupid idea. There's influencers for everything online now. Think about it, right? Everything we buy, there's usually someone talking about it, or sometimes that's how we found it. Who's bought stuff they didn't need off Instagram because somebody, put it on their face or on their shoe, on their feet or whatever, right? We're all doing that. Same thing, right? That's product. Why can't we have influencers for services? Think about your greatest candidate. We think about them as, advocates and, we ask them for referrals, right? Who's got a referral scheme in their business for candidates? Refer another candidate to us. Yeah, ever paid any money on it? Yeah, good. That's good. It's working. Usually they don't, right? Usually good candidates will refer you good candidates because they like you and they genuinely believe they want to make the referral. The money is not the incentive. But think about this micro influencer situation. Think about where they're actually publicly speaking about you. Yeah, under arrangement, under some sort of commercial arrangement potentially. You're giving a referral fee. It's the same thing, but you're being more targeted about it. You're saying to those key candidates who've got good networks, would you like to collaborate with me? Comment on my posts or do a post once a month, whatever it might be. So micro influencers, no one's doing this. Each of you do this today. As I said it a year ago in the middle of COVID, but haven't seen anyone doing it. And enlist your candidates as advocates, same sort of concept. So if you don't like the idea of influencer sets you off a little bit, think about those really great candidates you've got that you could actually convert into advocates and have some sort of advocate program. Get rid of your referral program. Can I tell you, if you've got one and you haven't paid out on it, it's a waste of time and effort and it's useless to you. Turn it into an advocate program, right? Talk about to the candidate of what would take them to really refer you candidates on some sort of regular basis, right? Maybe then they'll want the kickback and they'll want the fee. Maybe they won't. As I said, a lot of times they'll just refer people to us because they like us, because they trust what we do. I want to encourage you to innovate your service delivery. All right. This is what I'm saying. We have been doing the same thing in recruitment for a really long time. It actually hasn't changed what we do as recruiters. It hasn't really changed. So I really want to push you to have a think about how you can innovate on service. I've got a couple of ideas there, but the idea of innovation is that I can't tell it to you. It's not innovative then, right? Because I'm telling it to you. You've got to come up with this yourself. But I want to spark some ideas around that. So design the ideal client recruitment process. So we talked about the ideal client. What does the ideal client recruitment process look like? Or how do you get your clients to have a better process? If we improve the client process, same thing like when I said interview training. Some people say, why would you teach your clients to do interviews better? If they do interviews better, I'm going to make more placements. All right? They're not going to cut me out of the process. They might think they can. We know that what happens. They come back eventually. So don't be worried about what you're giving out there. Think about designing a recruitment process for them that makes it more efficient, uses some cool tech, uses the tech you're using. They might not even know about that. Okay. So think about how you can design a process for your client, using AI to automate repetitive processes. The whole time I've been in recruitment, I've been told that we're going to lose our jobs. 27 years. Pretty much the whole time from the day I started. Oh, you'll all be out of recruitment's going to be gone. The robots are coming. You're all going to be out of work. Yeah, we've been told this for a really long time. All right. We're not. We're not. And we get really good. As I said, we're good at adapting the tech. So we take the robots and we go, yeah, what can we do with you people with this info? And how do we make it better? How do we make ourselves better? How do we make the process better? So that part we're good at. But I want to push you to really think about what are the things that you're doing on repeat that you could get a bot to do. There's millions of them in our process, all right? And take them out of the equation and spend more time then in the relationship side of it. Continuous feedback and review. I mentioned that before. We're not good at that. We don't want to know really, what our clients think about us. We don't, because we send out these stupid surveys. All right. If you're sending out a survey, it's good. It's good. You're asking for some feedback, but you're not getting honest feedback, really. All right. So what you'll get when you get honest feedback is when they're disgruntled. That's the only time we're really honest, right? Think about it. When you're annoyed with Virgin or Jetstar or something, you go, oh, I'm getting on that form and I'm giving feedback, right? When we're angry, right? If it's just okay, then we either don't give feedback at all or we just go, yeah, everything's good, thanks. All right. So think about how you can look for that feedback from clients, solicit the feedback properly, give them a call and have a conversation, get someone else in the business to do it. Business owners in the room, that's the best job for you. Ring your clients regularly and ask them, how's the recruiter doing? How's my team doing? How's it going? It maintains connection for you with your client base, but it gets this feedback. They're going to tell you if they're unhappy then. If you've made the point of grabbing them for a coffee or whatever, or had a phone call. But we've got to look to continuously improve. If we did it really well, if you're doing something really well, then see that as the trigger to do it better. As humans, we don't do that. When we're doing something well, we go, woohoo, I'm good at it. I'm a master. I don't need to work any harder on that. But I want you to do the opposite. I want you to see your mastery as a means of going, I have to do better. I have to keep moving forward. And please try something new. I don't know what that is. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying be innovative, but I can't give you the idea. You have to think of it yourself. So if you're sitting on some sort of strange idea where you're thinking, I wonder if this will go, do it. I'm telling you now. If you're looking for a sign of someone to tell you, I'm telling you, do it now. Give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? You can fail, but hopefully your reputations and your brands will sustain that. It's not going to be something that's going to take your business down. It's just going to be a new idea that you try. All right, moving on, just watching the time. Proven BD techniques. These are the ones that I think are worth keeping from what we do now. Most of you will be doing these. And I do think they're worth keeping. I just want to explore them a little bit further, a couple of them a little bit further as well. And they lead on to other training sessions that I do as well. Online strategy is needed. Yes, your website, social media, lead magnet tools, all of that stuff is a required part of what we do, because society now social proofs us whether we like it or not. So if a candidate or a client can't find you online or can't find a positive presence online, there's a distrust. Good business, this is my second tip for today. The best business developers are the ones that build trust. The best, the fastest, whatever it might be. That's what it's about, okay? That's why it's hard when you're new, because you're still just starting a relationship. It takes some time to build trust with people. So that's what that does though. Having an online presence backs up what they see in person. How many people looked me up before they came in today? Had you heard of me before then? No. Well, you're here, so I'm hoping you had a good impression of that. But you checked me out. Why? Because you want, what's the credibility of this person? How does she get to stand up the front there? Right? That's what we do, right? The client is trying to check you out to see how are you qualified to help me. Okay, so it is important. I hate to say it, we spend a lot of time, I know, faffing around socials and online, and have a strategy. Again, I encourage you to get marketing support on this, somebody who's dedicated to understanding how to get your message out properly into the market consistently, not photos of birthday cakes and the dog in the office. You know, that's fun. That's all fun. You got to have a portion of that, but you got to have a strategy. Reverse marketing as a proven business development technique. I run a whole workshop just on that alone, telling you how to do. I'm going to give you some of the tips from that today for free. It's a very, very valuable tool in any market, in a candidate short and a candidate buoyant market. Your reverse marketing skills are going to help. So I want to talk about that one. Upskill recruiters. So those of you that are business owners and managers, you need to make sure you're upskilling people, and especially if they've got less than 2 years experience or thereabouts, 2 or 3. There's half that room in here. Half of the people in this room are in that category. Why? Because those of you that put your hand up saying you had 2 or 3 years experience, you have only learnt essentially half the job in a way. Yeah, only half of the recruitment job you've had to practice. So you need to learn the other half, partly why you're here, maybe, right? Oh yeah, I need to upskill my bit. They keep telling me I got to do BD. All right, what is this BD thing, right? You're lucky it's called BD, by the way, now. It used to be called cold calling. Miserable, miserable task to do. We hated it. We hated it. It's easier. It's easier today, I think, but more sophisticated. So upskill yourself, upskill your recruiters, especially if they're 2 or 3 years young. Get back in person all aspects of your business. I'm going to be very unpopular on that one, I know, but I can't stress this one enough. Be in person wherever possible. If your purpose in business development is to build trust, it will have a ceiling if you're only doing it online. So it's not impossible. You can build relationships online, you can interview online, all of that. We know that, we do that. I do it, but it has a ceiling. There's a limit to how much you'll get from it, how far the relationship will go. When it's tested, it'll fail if it's all online, okay? Candidate and client. So I can't stress that one enough. Your bosses are back in their office going, woohoo, she's telling them get back in the office, right? I'm not telling you get back in the office. I'm saying be in person. So get out of the office, actually. Stop being in the office and be out with people physically. I'm going to give you a little story example of myself. I'm from Melbourne. So I've flown up. I came up yesterday and I got 2 new clients yesterday and last night on the street. I'm not joking you. I was walking on Clarence Street and a man walked up beside me like that looking. And I was like, why is this person looking at me? I'm trying to walk faster. And then he goes, oh, Adele, because he's not seen the context, me, Sydney. He knows I'm in Melbourne. We've met once before. And he said to me, I thought that was you. And he said, how's it going? And then he walked me. I was walking to my hotel to check in. He walked me to the door of the hotel and he gave me a job order on the way. Right? It's freaky. Like, where, if I was not outside the building, so, like get out. I've got that in there as well. So get back in person, go and meet people, this job is about being in front of people, connecting with people. You cannot do that in the same way behind a screen. I don't care how many, how many techniques you've developed for good interviewing, etc. It's just not the same. And market mapping, I want to talk about that as well as a BD technique. So I'm just going to address a couple of these. As I said, I'm going to speed up here because I'm getting over time. We're almost at 12. I think we're going till about 12:30 anyway, so we've got some time, but I wanted to try and finish the presentation and give you question time. These are my tips for good reverse marketing. Candidate exclusivity. Get candidate exclusivity before you represent anybody in a reverse marketing situation, okay? Like quite specifically a signed agreement. I'm actually suggesting that you get a candidate to sign up to say, I choose to be represented by you. Maybe it's got a fixed period of time on it. That's okay. But get candidates to sign up. We've got no loyalty. We know that, right? So you've got to try and garner back some of that loyalty from the candidate. If they won't sign it or they're umming and ahhing, then they're not worth representing for this exercise. For reverse marketing, it requires a really specific relationship with your candidate. So candidate exclusivity, you want exclusive representation. There's no point reverse marketing a candidate who's been looking for a job and applying everywhere all around town for the last 6 weeks. You've just now got a product that everybody's seen already, okay? So the candidate that comes to you and says, I haven't looked for a job for 5 years, you're the first recruiter I called, bang, That's the one. All right, I'm going to have exclusivity with this candidate. They haven't been in the market in 5 years. They've come to me. How am I going to build a relationship with them, have them trust me, get exclusivity, and then I'm going to reverse market them out, okay? Targeted and specific. This is the other thing we don't do when we do this. We get one candidate and we go send, 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 send. Yes, it's a numbers game, but if you make it to the client feel like you've just sent it to everybody, they're not interested. People want exclusive and targeted. They want to feel like, and the training I do on this, I'll give you an actual script of what to do with the client, but you want to make it feel like you're saying to them, I have this one candidate, they're only good for your company at this time, and they're here, they're for you. Like that exclusive. That's all. I'm just ringing you, nobody else. Right? Or I rang you first. Sorry if there's any of my clients in the room because I say that one. I rang you first. Yes, amongst others. Not many. I usually only ring 2 or 3 people when I've got a good candidate, but I say, you got to hurry up. I'm ringing you first. I'm giving you 2 days. After that, then I'm going out to the rest of my client base. Creating a bit of FOMO, not a bad thing, okay? Interview booked before referral. I do this 100% now. No candidate resume gets sent unless I've got the interview booked. Just try it. It's easier than you think. Ring up the client, talk to them about the candidate, profile the candidate to them, get them excited about the candidate, book the interview in, and then say, I'll send the resume after. You're closing the gap on that ghosting. You're closing the gap on I'm not sure, and then making assumptions, all of the things. Once they've committed to the interview, even if they get the resume, they go, oh, not too sure. You booked it in now, right? Your chance of getting the job filled is greater if you've got the candidate in front of the client. We know this, right? So book the interview before you send the resume. In fact, I don't send the resume ever until I've booked it. And in reverse marketing, again, I address this in the training. You may have to have a light version of terms of business because it's the only time you're working without terms of business signed if you're approaching a new client. So it's a dangerous thing to do because I usually advocate never, ever work without signed terms of business. But in reverse marketing, you may not have signed terms of business. So you've got to have some other measures in place. As I said, if you're interested in more detail on that, let me know. There is a full training course and there is a reverse marketing model I've put up there, which is just a quick snapshot from the training course of the process. I'll leave that for 1 second. If you want to take a quick photo, you'll get a copy of this anyway. All right, where I mentioned re-engineering the team, thinking about this 360 or 180 degree model, there's huge, like this has been a perpetual argument in recruitment for as long as I can remember, right? Is 360 recruitment the right way to go? Should we have people that are just job fillers? Should we have BD? Should we, I don't know. I don't know what the bloody answer to it is, to be perfectly honest. I've seen it work in both cases. I've seen great 360 recruiters. I've seen great models where they've split it out and they've got candidate managers and account managers and BD. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I reckon maybe it's as unique as your own businesses and your industries and everything else. And maybe it depends on the person you find and all of those things. So who knows? What I do suggest about it is work out what is the right model for you and your business and your company or where you're working, right? Or your skill set. I spoke to one of my clients earlier this week, and he said to me, I'm just really worried about hiring people at the moment because, if they really don't have the BD skills, if they're just really great on the candidate side and they're really engaging with the candidate, I'm really worried. I'm like, did you hear what you just said? You just told me you've got a really great candidate manager who's going to get the candidates in and they're going to love you and they're going to keep coming back in and get that loyalty, and you're worried about that? Because in his brain, he's going through it. That all have to be 360, right? So it's just a mindset shift sometimes. But likewise, as I said, man, if you can find someone that does 360, much easier. Life is easier for the business owner that finds a 360 recruiter. But anyway, whatever the model is, find out what works for you. If you are really good on one side, if you're in this room as a recruiter and you're thinking, I'm not a 360 recruiter, then position yourself like that to your manager, have that conversation and own the 180 role then, right? You can't be a half-assed recruiter at 180 and just say that's why I'm not good at 360, all right? So you have to be bloody good at it if you're going to be 180. I think it's harder. Mentoring and coaching. I think this is a really valuable thing to consider for yourself and for business owners in the room, more than just training. And that's coming from a trainer, okay? So training is valuable, yes, But I think in this market, people are wanting something a bit more personal and direct. So I'm thinking that mentoring and coaching, I do as much, no, that's not true. I do much more mentoring and coaching now than I ever did. It's not as much as my training, but it's starting to get to the same level. It's getting close. So have a think about that. If that kind of style of learning is better for you, and for many people it is, you might get more out of it too. Because one thing to come to something like this, right? This is always the fear. There's Amanda's in the room. She's a trainer as well. We do a presentation like this, and there's always a fear. Well, I have the fear. I don't know what you do with it afterwards. Right? I send you the presentation, you get the recording, you're all frantically making notes. It sounds good, looks all good. I'm excited. But if you just go back to your office and do nothing with this, like, you wasted your time, I wasted mine, you wasted your money, right? Like, that's how I think as a previous, GM of recruitment agencies. I'm like, sending people on training is great. What do they do with it, right? So I want you to think about other forms of ways to, so one, I encourage you to do something after today. Please, one thing from today, go and apply it. But two, think about other ways that might help you stay motivated, things like mentoring and coaching, and structured training plans for your staff as well. I have to say that, I'm a trainer. Put structured training plans in place. What don't you, or for yourself, what don't you know? Take ownership of your own learning. What don't you know now? What do you need to know? How are you going to close that gap? All right, do that straight away. Re-engineering your skills really quick. Build a network, build a profile, go outside. That I added that last night after the other guy. I contacted. I was outside and he saw me. I didn't see him. He sent me a message on LinkedIn. Did I see you at Town Hall Station? I'm like, this is creepy. Somebody. It's funny to me. The Sydney's a really big city. How the hell do you see people you know? I don't know how this works, but I walk around in Melbourne. I don't see as many people as I know. I don't think so. I'm loving Sydney. I'm going to come here. I'm just going to walk around the streets and get jobs. But I'm really serious about that. Even at lunchtime, there's people out here, right? Go outside and walk outside and talk to people and meet people, right? That's you'll meet your clients. You'll hang around where people are that you know, but go to events and other things, right? I'm actually talking about actively building a network there as well. So build a physical network, build a digital network, build your brand. If you're not sure if your brand is the right brand, you personally, get someone to have a look at it for you. Ask somebody else. Ask your clients to have what they think of your brand, right? Get some feedback around it. It's hard because they might say something you don't want to know, but get that feedback and make changes where you need to. Again, get marketing support if you need to do that. I just want to address a few things because there are newer recruiters in the room, and I want to make sure that part of the reason why recruitment is hard at the moment is because we are not managing expectations, and I want you to set them early. So this isn't necessarily BD. I'm just touching a little bit in here on recruitment activity, but make sure you're recapping your understanding of client needs. Get agreement on the negotiables of the job. On every job order, there are elements to that job order that are the job brief. There are elements that are negotiable. If you walk out of a job brief with your client or hang up the phone from your client, you don't know what they are, you're not going to fill that job, or it's going to be harder to fill it. So find out what are the negotiables. Consult and give market advice and data. I've mentioned that earlier. Set a timeline and gain commitment. Stick to that timeline. So when I'm taking a job order from a client, I'm locking in the interview times before I leave. I don't know who's going to be interviewed because I have to go back and find them, but I've locked in the times. And then I'm making a commitment to the client. I want 3 interview times locked in your diary in 7 days time or 8 days time. I'm going to lock some people in. I'm going to phone you. We're going to put people in those slots. It forces you to commit to doing it in that time as well. Yes, you might ring and go, actually, I've only got 2. I haven't got 3, but that's okay. It's now locked in the client's diary. All right. These little things that I think move the dial, and follow through. Oh my goodness. So many recruiters are not following through, following up, leaving it too long in between. All right. You should be it's basic stuff, that one, but you should be contacting clients every 2 to 3 days on an active job. No exceptions, even if it's to say I have nothing to tell you. All right. These are basic stuff, but I want to just touch on that because I know there are people in the room. New market mapping. This one's really simple. I run a whole training session just on how to do this. I can come into your office if you want me to do that with your team. Who are we trying to attract? Who is our ideal client? Where are the zebras grazing? Where do we find them? Who are the zebras? Where are they? And how do we get access to them? Right? How do we map our market so that we know that we're hunting in the right spots? Too often with BD, we're spray and pray, right? I'm just going to try and get everything, try and get everything, try and get everything. Okay. It's a lot of effort, like the lions trying to chase down animals that aren't worth the return. So who am I trying to contact? Where are they? And how do I contact them? That's it for me. I did go over time. Thank you very much. It's just after 12. Thank you. My contact info is there. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or reach out if you've got any questions later on. But I'll open the floor if there are any direct questions at the moment as well. Thank you. Don't be afraid. Thank you. Valid. Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, how many responses to a salary survey, say, do you need for it to be valid? If you're going to produce a salary survey data to your client, how many responses do you need to get? I think with any survey, obviously, the more you get, the better. We know that because we want a greater portion of that. But think about quality as well if you can't get quantity. So if you're a smaller agency and you did a survey and you got 30 people, instead of going from the 30 people we surveyed, 10% said this, go with a different approach to that. Go, let me profile the 30 people. Let me break it down in more detail. Let me tell you about each of these people and why, you know, what their salary progression was, or like change the data around if you've only got a small quantity. I would go on quality instead of quantity, or try to access other data that you can use with your data, see if it backs it up. So you can then say in our survey, we got 10%, and in a greater survey here referenced, it matches the data there on 2,000 people globally, matched what we said locally, something like that. Because that can be good too, you know, a survey that happened in the States or in the UK, and it matches what we did. So yeah, that's what I would suggest on that one. Thank you. Good. Any other questions? No.
Key takeaways from today, everybody? Maybe.
I'm hoping I'll give you some key takeaways from today. I want you to review what you're currently doing that's working well. Think about some of those existing BD techniques that you're doing that do work. Get rid of the ones that are not working. Stop trying to hit your head against a brick wall. Have a think about the innovative ones. Have a think about tech. Have a think about doing something a bit different. If you've got an itch, scratch it right now. Go and give it a go. Okay. Get back to in-person, face-to-face. Start building those relationships back up again. Great that you all came along. Even this, I mean, I know this is not your industry, but you don't know who you might meet in this situation as well. Or better still, when you're walking back now at lunchtime, right? There's people on the street out there. There's all clients out there. All right. But thank you. I'll hang around if anybody would like to chat with me. If you don't want to ask a question in public, feel free to come up and talk to me. Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much.
Well done, Adele. Really good. Great presentation. I hope you all enjoy Adele's energy and passion for our industry. And yeah, feel free, obviously, to connect with her and fire more questions off. Really good. Thank you, Adele. Thank you all very much for being here. Biggest group we've had since COVID. Thank you very much. Glad you're all coming back in person. This is where the magic happens, as Adele said, in person. You know, I've been reconnecting with people I haven't seen for many years, which is really good too. So thank you all very much for being here. Thank you to all our supporters that make Captain's Table possible. And may we get Consultants Table up and running as well with some very advanced consulting techniques for both owners and senior consultants later too, Adele. So thanks, Adele. And thank you everyone very much for being here. Feel free to hang around a bit if you want to say hi. And we hope to see you next month. We're going to cover immigration issues. It's an absolute nightmare out there at the moment. Anyone that's following this, it's so critical to the recruitment industry to really understand what's happening, what visas are working, what not, what processing times are occurring. We're going to have an immigration and visa expert speak in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane for you. And then after that, we're going back to AI. Those of you that saw our ChatGPT presentation, we're going to the next level. And we're going to do, okay, how are we going to implement some of this stuff? Where are the easy wins? Where do we start? What can we be really doing to take advantage of AI in recruitment anyway? So more coming up later. Thank you again, everybody.